The fingers press into the heavy, quilted white cotton of a practice uniform. There is a specific weight to the fabric, a resistance as it is folded into a precise square. The breath slows, the mind settles, the world outside the room begins to blur. Most of life is spent this way, in the quiet, repetitive motions that lead nowhere in particular. Yet, from the moment the first school bell rings, a different story is sold. Study hard to get the grades. Get the grades to get the degree. Get the degree to land the corporate role. Land the role to afford the mortgage and the luxury car. This is the iron rack of contingencies. It is a life lived in the future, where the present is merely a tax paid to reach a prize. The prize is a lie. The winning pass, the promotion, the viral moment, these are flashes of lightning. They are gone the moment they strike. If a life is to be one of mastery, the vast majority of it will be spent on the plateau. The plateau is that long, grueling stretch of diligent effort where no progress is visible. It is the silence between the breakthroughs. Many people spend their entire adult lives in a state of frantic agitation, trying to escape the plateau. They switch careers, they buy new courses, they pivot their strategy, they chase a new guru. They are running from the stillness. But the practitioner who survives the plateau does not escape it. They learn to live inside it. In the beginning, the plateau feels like a wall. There is a shock of disappointment when the initial growth slows. You work harder, you push longer, and still, the needle doesn't move. Then, eventually, a spurt of learning happens. You leap forward. You feel the rush of improvement. And then, inevitably, the growth stops again. For the frustrated, this is the moment of defeat. They say, "Oh damn, another plateau." But for the master, the internal dialogue shifts. They begin to say, "Oh boy, another plateau, good." Good because the plateau is where the real work happens. The plateau is where the skill is baked into the bone. The mind does not move in a straight line. It moves in fits and silences, building in the dark before it shows itself in the light. Progress often happens in a jagged staircase, not a smooth ramp. Think of a plant repotted into richer soil. Before it can grow upward, it must first push its roots deeper into the dark. It looks dormant, it looks dead, but it is actually preparing for the surge. This is the joy of goal-less practice. It is the act of doing something not to become something, but simply because the doing is the reward. It is nothing special, and in that nothingness there is everything. Imagine the ritual. The drive to the training hall across a bridge, over a long hill that taxes the car's lowest gear, and down a noisy avenue lined with rows of car dealerships. The noise of the city is a storm, but the climb up the stairs to the second-story dojo is an entry into a sanctuary. There is the bow upon entering, the pull of the membership card from the rack, the smell of old sweat and subdued conversation, the feeling of the cool, firm mat beneath the soles of the feet, the stillness of sitting in seiza, the Japanese meditation position. Then the entrance of the teacher, the bows, the warm-ups. The heart begins to pound, the breath rushes, the training accelerates in speed and power. There are days when the body resists. There are evenings when lethargy feels like a physical weight, tempting the mind to waste the night in distraction. But the reward for overcoming that resistance is a little miracle. After hundreds of throws and falls, you walk out of those doors tingling. You feel fully alive. The night itself seems to sparkle and gleam. This joy has nothing to do with rank. When the worm of ambition enters the belly, the practice changes. Ambition is a stealthy eater. It consumes the pleasure of the process and replaces it with a hunger for the prize. In a school of martial arts, 4 advanced students once began to obsess over the possibility of achieving a black belt. Within 3 weeks, the obsession manifested as physical disaster. A broken toe, torn ligaments in an elbow, a dislocated shoulder, and an arm broken in 3 places. These injuries were teachers. They taught that ambition must be tamed. There is a fundamental difference between the hacker and the master. The hacker hits a plateau and stops working. They decide the method is broken or the goal is impossible. The master hits the plateau and settles in. They work hard, they do their best, but they are willing to stay in the stillness for as long as necessary. This paradox applies to every human endeavor. It is true for the coder, the athlete, the artist, and the thinker. Consider the writer who enters a study and feels an immediate surge of pleasure. The books on the shelves, the specific odor of the room, these are cues. They signal that the world is falling away. For this writer, the ecstasy is not in the published book, but in the struggle to make a single sentence work. Consider the Olympic gymnast who discovers their own desire. They set goals, yes, but those goals are secondary to the fact that the movement is fun. They do not wait for a coach to find a solution. They find it themselves because they love the act of solving. Consider the painter who describes her work as plodding. She chooses that word deliberately. The plodding is the routine. The routine is the feed. In the slow, rhythmic movement of the brush, she finds the essential version of herself. Think of a man in a fire insurance office on a Saturday morning. The room is silent, smelling of glue, ink, rubber erasers, and well-worn wood. There are the stately upright typewriters, the hand-operated adding machines, the staplers, and the old dictaphone. The man is not there because he has to be. He is drawn there. He is entirely relaxed, yet entirely focused. His lips are slightly parted, his breath is steady, his eyes are soft, and his hands move with hypnotic precision. He may have desired fame. He may have craved public recognition, but he loved the rhythm and the texture of the work more. The world treats recognition and fame as the ultimate goals, but fame is seawater for the thirsty. It only makes you thirstier. Love of the work, the willingness to stay with it when no one is watching and no reward is coming, is the only food that actually sustains. There is a shift that happens here, from working for a reward outside yourself to working because the work itself is the reward. It is the difference between a leaf chasing the wind and a river flowing by its own gravity. This shift creates what can be called the face of mastery. Most sports photography focuses on the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. The frame shows faces contorted in pain or screaming in triumph. But the true face of mastery is different. It is relaxed. It is serene. It is sometimes faintly smiling. It is the face of Stephen Scott making the final turn in a mile race, his body relaxed while others collapse. It is Greg Louganis at the edge of the diving board, a study in calm concentration. It is Peter Vidmer in an impossibly strenuous position, his expression reflective and composed. It is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar launching a skyhook over a defender, his face a revelation of inner delight. Goals and contingencies belong to the past and the future. They are ghosts. Practice exists only in the present. You can see it, hear it, smell it, and feel it. To love the plateau is to love the eternal now. It is to accept the spurts of progress with gratitude, and then to serenely accept the new plateau that waits just beyond them. To love the plateau is to love the only part of your life that is actually happening. A single, perfectly folded piece of